I walked in with 20 bucks and a bad attitude. I walked out with a cashier's slip they refused to smile at. They flagged me. They pulled the machine. They knew what I found. And I'm about to tell you why that old dusty slot in the corner isn't just nostalgia. It's a trap with a pattern baked into its bones. Stop pretending this is luck. Stop pretending the lights care about you. Stop pretending the machine got cold. Stop. Stop pressing that button like a stunned lab rat. You are feeding a machine that was designed to teach you obedience. Every spin, every ding, every near win, it's training you to believe you almost had it. You didn't. They made it look that way. And if you're playing anything built before 2007, you're walking straight into the 2005 rule without even knowing it. Listen, I worked on these things. I opened the cabinets, I saw the stickers, I signed the maintenance logs. I watched techs whisper when certain models started paying too linear. They changed policy because of those machines, because of the pattern I'm talking about. And if you're sitting there right now, chasing with rent money, convincing yourself the next spin is the one, I need you to hear this. Stop chasing, stop topping up, stop letting them bleed you. Because the pattern only shows itself when the player is already exhausted. That's how they designed it. And yeah, before I go deeper, hear me clearly. I'm an ex-casino employee, not a YouTube cheerleader, not a fake guru. I'm the guy they stuck in the back room when a slot froze during a jackpot review. I'm the guy who had to explain to security why a machine was cycling predictably after midnight. I'm the guy who watched people cry at 3 a.m. while the floor manager smiled and called it variance. I know how these things breathe, and I'm telling you, they don't like when people talk about this. They hate when players start recognizing timing. They hate when players learn to walk away when the machine wants you closest. Subscribe now before this gets buried under responsible gambling noise and corporate PR garbage. The casinos don't want broke players becoming informed players. They want repeat customers. They want desperate regulars. Hit subscribe so you don't get fed the same recycled lies again. Now, let me ask you something that hurts. Be honest, have you ever lost bill money chasing a machine that almost hit, that showed you 2 bonus symbols and made you believe the third was coming, and you told yourself, I can't leave now? Tell me in the comments. Say it out loud, because that's not a mistake. That reaction was engineered. And here's where the story gets ugly. The pattern I'm talking about only exists in old slot machines, pre-touchscreen models, physical buttons, clunky metal casings, CRT or early LCD screens, the ones that sound like a broken arcade cabinet when they boot, the ones sitting in the quiet corners where the carpet smells like history and stale nicotine. You know the ones. You walk past them because they don't look fun. But that's where the 2005 rule lives. Now, I'm going to walk you through what I saw, step by step, the way I first noticed it. Not theory, not superstition, pattern. Picture this: grimy plastic button, slightly stiff. You press it and it gives that dull thunk instead of a soft tap. The reels don't glide, they clatter. The spin sound isn't cheerful, it's old, mechanical, heavy. The kind of sound that doesn't celebrate, it echoes. On these machines, the pattern doesn't show during wins, it shows during near wins. And here's the part nobody ever explained to players. Old machines didn't disguise their cycles as well as modern ones. They relied on psychology, not animation. Around 2005, a ton of machines were still running deterministic reel mapping under RNG presentation layers. The randomness was legal, the experience was scripted. And when these machines went long enough without a mid-tier payout, they started breadcrumbing. 2 symbols here, 2 symbols there, just enough to make the human brain go, something is happening, it's warming up. No, it wasn't warming up. It was resetting engagement tolerance. And if you knew how to read that stage, you could avoid the burn. Or if you were reckless like I was, you could sit through the starvation phase and wait for the exact moment the cycle loosened. That's the 2005 rule. Not a jackpot trick, not a magic sequence, a timing window the designers assumed players were too emotional to recognize. Here's how I first noticed it. Night shift, dead floor. One of the old cabinets kept error logging on coin validation. The tech pops the panel. I'm standing there with the clipboard, pretending not to listen while he mutters. He says, this model starts teasing before it dumps mid-tier. Management hates when guys sit on it. I asked him what he meant. He didn't answer, he just smirked. So I started watching, not playing, watching. Players would sit down, lose slow, get 2 symbol teases over and over. They'd lean in, shoulders tense, breathing shallow, fingers hovering over the button like a reflex. Then they'd panic bet, max credits, burn, get angry, leave. And here's the sick part. 2 or 3 spins after they stood up, boom. Not a jackpot, not life-changing, but a clean mid-tier payout, the kind that makes the next player think the machine is alive. That wasn't coincidence, that was cycle positioning, and I tested it. Sat down one night with a small bill, pressed slow, felt the button, heard the spin, that low rattling sound when the reel stopped slightly off-center. I counted T-spacing, 1 every 4 spins, then 1 every 3 spins, then 1 every 2 spins. The machine wanted me closer, it wanted frustration, it wanted commitment. I did the opposite. I flat bet, no emotion, no escalation, and when the tease frequency peaked, when every spin sounded identical, when it felt like the machine was begging me to chase, I stopped. I waited and I watched someone else sit down. 2 spins later, mid-tier payout. Not luck, pattern. That's when I started timing it.
That's when I realized the 2005 rule wasn't about winning. It was about not being the sucker who funds the payout for the next guy. But here's what they don't want you to understand. There is a moment, tiny, where the machine stops starving and loosens the mid-tier window. And if you're already seated, already calm, already flat betting, you can feel it in the rhythm. The sound of the spin gets less harsh. The reels don't land as violently. The button doesn't feel like a brick anymore. The teases stop multiplying. They stabilize. And that, right there, is where the pattern turns on its head. Because most players panic and leave right before that stabilization, and the next player reaps the benefit. But if you're still there, patient, cold, stone-faced, that's when the 2005 rule gives you a decision. Walk or press through the window. And before you think you understand what to do in that moment, you don't. Not yet. Because there's one more layer they built into those machines. The layer that punishes greed. The layer that made dealers call security on me when I proved it twice in one night. And if you don't know how that layer behaves, you'll blow the window, just like everyone else. I told you, the window isn't about luck, it's about control. And the casinos figured out pretty fast that players who stayed calm, players who didn't panic bet, players who felt the stabilization point, those players were dangerous. So they added something I used to hear floor techs joke about. They called it the punish step. You've probably lived through it without realizing. You sit through the starvation phase. You survive the tease storm. You hold steady. You feel the rhythm shift. Then you press the button, and the machine gives you a fake relief hit. Small win, tiny return, just enough to make your chest relax, just enough to make you think, okay, it turned, now it's paying. No, that isn't the turn. That's the punish step. That tiny payout isn't a reward, it's a leash. It resets your brain. It tells your nervous system you did the right thing. Stay seated, keep pressing. And most gamblers do exactly that. They lean in, they speed up, they raise bet size, they believe they've earned momentum. And that's when the machine drains them clean. Because on these old cabinets, the punish step sits right before the real release cycle. And if you chase after it, you never reach the window. Here's how I learned that the hard way. One night I ignored my own notes. I hit the punish step, small return, and I took it as confirmation. Pressed again, same rhythm, same sound, same tease spacing. So I pushed harder, max bet, burned through everything. Machine went silent. Guy sits down after me, flat bets twice, boom, clean mid-tier payout. And I just sat there, staring at the floor, because I realized I'd done exactly what the machine wanted. I wasn't smarter, I was predictable. That's when I stopped trying to win, and I started treating these machines like hostile systems. Here's the real rule, the part nobody tells you. When you hit that tiny fake relief win on an old slot, you don't press again. You don't escalate. You don't chase the momentum. You stand up, right there, right then. Because that little payout is not a beginning, it's the end of the bleed phase. It means the next seat is primed. And if you stay, you become the funding cycle for the next guy. But if you walk, you flip the power dynamic. You don't lose. And here's the crazy part. If you're cold, disciplined, and you understand timing, you can do the opposite. You can wait until someone else eats through the tease storm. You can watch them hit the fake relief payout. And when they leave, frustrated, exhausted, angry, you sit down, flat bet, calm, silent. 2, maybe 3 spins, and the machine gives you the mid-tier release it was saving. Not every time, not guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed in these places. But enough to make surveillance look twice. Enough to make floor managers whisper. Enough to get machines pulled. And that's when they started calling it abuse. Not cheating, not illegal, just unwanted. Because they don't care if you win once. They care if you learn patterns. They care if you stop bleeding. They care if you become unprofitable. And if you think I'm exaggerating, ask yourself something ugly. How many times have you sat through the fake relief win, kept pressing, watched your balance drain to 0, then saw someone sit down after you and hit something you thought was meant for you? That wasn't fate. That wasn't bad luck. That was conditioning. That was the 2005 rule doing exactly what it was built to do. Now here's where things get dark. Because old machines are disappearing, casinos are replacing them with modern cabinets that hide cycles under animated chaos. But the psychology, the rhythm, the baiting, it's still there, just buried deeper. And the people who lose the most are the ones who never learned to recognize when to leave at the punish step. So here's the cold truth. If you play these older machines, your goal is not to ride the turn. Your goal is to avoid being the sacrifice. Flat bet through the tease storm. Watch for stabilization. If the machine gives you that tiny comfort win, do not celebrate, do not press again, do not chase. Stand up. Let someone else fund the window. And if you're going to step back in, do it calm, do it patient, do it after someone else panics. Because the house doesn't just beat reckless gamblers, it feeds on emotional ones. And you deserve better than being a warm body in their statistics report. But I'm not done, because there's one final layer to this. A move casinos started using after players like me began timing cycles. It wasn't mechanical, it wasn't mathematical, it was psychological. They changed the floor layout, they moved the old machines, they shifted traffic patterns, they trapped players inside emotional loops on purpose. And if you don't know where those machines are placed and why they're placed, you're still walking right into their hands. And that's the part that gets people banned. That's the part they really hate me talking about. The placement rule, the one that turns the 2005 pattern into a weapon instead of a trap. And once you see it, you'll never unsee it. All right, let's finish this. You've heard of the 2005 rule. You've felt the punish step. Now we get to the part nobody outside the back room ever talks about. Machine placement. Because slots aren't sprinkled around the floor like decoration. They're positioned with the same intent a hunter has when placing bait. And the old machines, the ones running those stubborn mid-2000s cycle behaviors, are never placed randomly. They're positioned where emotion peaks. I learned this the day a floor manager slipped and called them conversion anchors. That's what they were, not profit engines, psychological traps. Here's how they're placed and why. Look for the ones just outside high traffic walkways. Not in the center, not tucked deep inside rows. They sit on edges, end caps, near restrooms, near cash kiosks, near the exit. Why? Because the people who sit at them are not casual players. They're people who already lost somewhere else. They're tired, humiliated, on autopilot. They don't pick those machines, they collapse into them, and casinos know it. Those old cabinets weren't meant to dazzle, they were meant to absorb the defeated. That's why the tease storm phase is so aggressive on them. It keeps broken gamblers seated long enough to drain whatever hope they walked in with.
Now here's the part that makes surveillance nervous. Those same edge machines are the easiest to pattern time if you're not the one who just lost, because traffic around them is predictable. Bleed phase victim sits down, they chase, they hit the fake relief win, they either A, blow everything chasing, or B, stand up and walk away in shame. That window right there, that quiet shuffle away, is when timing players slide in. Flat bet, cold. 2 or 3 spins, mid-tier release. Floor manager pretends not to notice, but they notice. And if you do it more than twice, you're no longer a lucky player. You're a problem. Here's what tipped them off to me. I didn't choose machines based on theme or jackpot. I chose them based on placement psychology. If a machine was old cabinet, edge position, near a kiosk or exit with tired players cycling constantly, that's where the 2005 pattern lived most consistently. Not because of software, because of behavioral funneling. Casinos don't need every machine to exploit you. They only need the ones placed where your emotions are weakest, and they know exactly when emotions collapse. Cash out kiosk, bathroom hallway, entrance doors. Moments where people think, I'll just sit for a minute, maybe I'll recover something before I leave. That's the moment the trap springs. And here's the ugly truth. Most people don't lose on those machines because of math. They lose because they were already defeated before they pressed the first button. Now listen closely, because this is where it turns into a razor's edge. If you're trying to avoid being the sacrifice, you never sit after a loss. You never sit out of frustration. You never sit because you're already down. Those seats are designed for broken players. But if you're cold, calm, detached, you can watch the stream of emotional players cycle through. You can see who hit the punish step. You can see who quits right before stabilization. And then, only then, you sit. Flat bet, no escalation. Hands steady, because you are not chasing, you're intercepting. And the casino hates interceptors. They expect pain-driven decisions, not surgical ones. That's why I tell people this. Your edge is not in beating the machine. Your edge is in refusing to be predictable. If you feel angry, you walk. If the machine gives you a tiny thank you payout, you walk. If you lost somewhere else and just want one more chance, you walk. That is where they get you, not on jackpots, on emotion loops. And that brings us to the last thing I'm going to say about this, because this is where I crossed the line in their eyes. I stopped playing. I only watched for hours, logged behavior patterns, tease spacing, traffic cycles, placement psychology, punish step frequency. I wasn't gambling anymore. I was auditing. And that's when security started following me. Not because I was cheating, because I wasn't losing. Casinos will tolerate winners. They will not tolerate people who stop feeding the system. So if you're listening to this right now and you're broke or angry or drowning in loss, hear me clearly. You don't need a winning trick. You need to stop letting them decide when you press the button. Old machines are dying out, but the conditioning they created, it's still inside you. And if you don't break that conditioning, every new cabinet, every flashy screen, every bonus animation will drag you back into the same loop. So here's the rule that matters more than any pattern. When the machine gives you hope, leave. Because hope is the bait. Cold thinking is the weapon. And if you can't stay cold, don't sit down at all. You are not their entertainment. You are not their statistic. You are not their fuel. You walk or they win. And they always prefer the player who stays seated.